Men want respect, women want love. And so it's very important that we respect one another and that we respect each other in their boundaries, and we respect each other when it comes to our values and who we truly are. Hey y'all, welcome back to Get Your Rear in Gear with Lori. I am Lori McAfee, your host, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, my marriage. I laugh because a lot of people think that that's crazy when I say it's one of my favorite things to talk about. I love our love story, and I don't want you to think that it's always been rainbows and sunshine and unicorns or hallelujah and amens. It's been hard and it's been a challenge, but we've been able to overcome a lot of these challenges. And so when you hear this, Ken and I will have just celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary. I got married when I was 19 and he was 23. And so we've been together for a very long time. And like I said, it's been up and it's been down. And I wanted him to do this podcast with me, but he was like, that's so far out of my comfort zone, Lori, and I just can't do it. He said, you had me until you said it was going to be a video, and then I'm out. And I was like, okay, that's fine, but can I do it without you? And he said, yeah. And I said, so I'm going to tell everybody, though, that, I wanted you to do this with me and you're not on here. And he said, it's fine. And I was like, but I understand. And I totally respect where you are. And that's part of where our marriage is so strong. And so he and I sat down and we wrote out 31 things that we've learned in our marriage. And so I'm going to go through this with you. But before I read these, I want you to also understand that our love story is not something that probably should have, number one, ever happened, and number two, shouldn't have lasted. We had everything stacked against us. And when I say that there were just life circumstances that were thrown at us in every different angle, and choices and decisions that were thrown at us in every different angle. And that could have destroyed our marriage, or it could have never even been in existence. But Ken and I extended a lot of grace to outside situations as well as inside situations. And so we met on a blind date, and I knew that night I was gonna marry him. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. Didn't know if I'd ever see him again. But I knew one day I would marry him. And it was just the craziest thing because we had so much fun. And that's one of the things that our relationship has always been about, is having a really good time. We truly enjoy the presence of one another. And so I'm going to read these 31 different things that we've learned in our marriage. And I am so sure that we could go through more, because now Ken's like, that's number 35. Okay, we're at 37 now, Lori. And so, we just keep adding things to this list as time goes on. But I want to read these to you. And so 31 things that we've learned in 31 years of marriage. Number one is keep Christ center and first. That's not always been something that we've done, but it's always been something that has been very important to us. And when Ken and I made a choice to be very intentional about our relationship with God first and each other second, then that was a change in our marriage. It still hasn't been perfect, but it makes a difference when we know where to go to for those answers and who to go to. Which brings me to number two, and that is that your spouse is second behind God. And not everyone is of the same opinion that Ken and I are in this. And we were actually talking to a friend of ours one time, and we were like, your marriage with your wife needs to be next behind your relationship with God. And he didn't like that, and he didn't have a response. and he really didn't want to talk about it anymore. And that's fine. That's his choice. And a lot of people get so wrapped up in their kids and other people's lives that their spouse is somewhere down the list. And I'll be honest with you, there's been times that I've not always put Ken first behind God, and he's not always put me first behind God. And sometimes he's been first before God, and so have I. And then there are times that we've been way on down the line. But when we've gotten that order correct, where it's God first and then our spouse, our life was a little easier to navigate. And that brought about a lot of harmony and unforced rhythms of grace that we all crave in our life. Number 3 is pray daily for your spouse. Lift up a prayer. Okay, it's hard, I know, to remember everything that we're supposed to pray for. And we're like, okay, they're adults, they can pray for themselves. But no, pray for your spouse. Pray that there's a hedge of protection that's around him or her and in their minds. And, just that they seek God, and that they see themselves as loved and valued and worthy. Number 4 is show grace to your spouse and to yourself. And that comes with a price. And my tattoo is Ken's handwriting that says grace multiplied. It means grace multiplied. And that reminds me that it was a cost. It was free to me, but it cost someone else something. And I have to remember to show grace to other people, and remember that is very important, that we extend grace to ourselves and we extend grace to other people. Number 5, know and love who you are. I didn't always know and love who I was. Ken's always been a very confident man. As a matter of fact, one of our first dates, we went somewhere and he and I love to dance. And so we had been dancing, and he was actually out on the dance floor talking to somebody else. And, a couple of other girls were around there. And this one girl looks at me and she said, do you know what he's doing? And I was like, yeah. And she said, are you okay with that? And I said, yeah. I said, Ken's a very confident man, and I don't ever want to take that away from him. And I said, number 2, I know who he's going home with. And so I knew that both of us in our relationship with each other, that we were confident and that we knew who each other was, and we loved ourselves in that time. I will say later on in life, I did get to a point to where I had lost myself in the everyday mundane life. And I had gotten to where I didn't love who I was. And it was one of the darkest times of my life. And so when I had that turnaround in my life and I looked at where I was, then I knew that I had to do something, because my marriage was being affected by the fact that I didn't know and love who I was. And that moves us on to truly forgive and let go. That's hard because we all hurt each other. If you put your spouse up on a pedestal and expect them to never hurt you, you're only setting expectations for them they can't make. And no, you can't ever escape life without someone hurting you, even the people that you love the most. They're going to hurt you. They're going to disappoint you. They're human. They're doing the best they can do. And our job is to forgive them and to let those things go. That doesn't mean forget it, because there are some things I know in life, and there are some people that I know who have been through some things that's hard to forget. But we have to remember that what we can't forget has already been forgiven. And so that takes us to guard your marriage. And when I say guard your marriage, I mean, when you've got an uncomfortable feeling about a situation, guard it. I'm not saying be jealous, but I am saying to always guard your marriage. Don't put yourself in a situation where it could go the other way with the opposite sex. Don't put yourself into a situation. Guard your marriage for yourself and for your spouse. put a hedge of protection around it. And that's one thing that I pray, God, put a hedge of protection around our marriage. That it keeps everything out that should not be in. And say I love you every day as much as possible. Ken actually doesn't, this is going to make me cry. Ken actually doesn't tell me that he loves me, but he says he adores me. And that's very special. And I love him. I always say, well, I love you more than adore. And so that goes on, I don't know, 20, 30, 50, 100 times a day that we tell each other that we love each other. And granted, we work together a lot, so that's different too, and I understand that. So not everybody can always say that. And then know and do the other's love language. And, everybody's like, treat, and I know that it is in scripture, to treat someone else like you would want to be treated. And so that is true. But when it comes to someone else's love language, treat them the way they want to be treated. I know what Ken's love language is. And those are things that I do. I keep that love tank full because I don't want somebody else coming in there trying to fill that up. And he does the same thing for me. And I guess that's why I adore you is so special, because he knows how I am about words. And then always date twice a month. Even when you have children, still date your spouse. When you get married, that does not mean you quit dating them. You still need to date them. It may be just, we used to take date night and it would be a Sam's trip and Provino's. And I got to where I didn't like Sam's. So we stopped going on date nights to Sam's. And now we just have fun date nights. And it may just be that we go right around and we roll our windows down and we listen to music really loud and we sing and we act silly and goofy and we stop and get I'm telling ourselves that we stop and get a Dr. Pepper and barbecue pork skins and we ride around and we just have fun. I consider that a date night because we're alone and we're just having a good time. We're not on our phones. We're not being consumed with other things. We are fully present, enjoying the moment with one another. Be honest. You have to know there are some times that I can't say things to Ken that I want to say because, I know that he's had a rough day at work or, something's going on and he's just not in the right frame of mind. So I'm very cautious of that too and very aware of that. But have honest conversation with your spouse. Don't be afraid to have that conversation. Be honest with them. Be honest with yourself. And that is the best policy in every relationship that you have, but especially that one with your spouse, is to be honest. Be respectful. I very much am respectful to Ken. And when I say that, it also brings me to one of the others, which is never talk bad about your spouse to others. That's being respectful. And I respect a lot of things about my spouse. And he respects a lot of things about me. Don't bash each other out in public. Don't talk bad about the other. And men want respect. Women want love. And so it's very important that we respect one another and that we respect each other in their boundaries. And we respect each other when it comes to our values and who we truly are. And, our calling and our passion in life, respect those as well. Create a safe space to share emotions and deep thoughts. Again, not always are you going to be able to just say, hey, we're going to talk about this and I want you to know how I'm feeling. You have to say, hey, is today a good time that we can have this conversation and I just want you to know how I'm feeling. And home is where you are the safest, should be where you are the safest, and where you can express those emotions that you're feeling. It's great to feel those emotions. It is great to talk about those emotions, to get them out and to discuss them. And what better person than your spouse, who is also supposed to be your best friend? And in that, whenever we have these discussions, number 15 is be willing to discuss hard emotions. And when I mean hard emotions, I mean emotions where they've hurt your feelings. Something has really, really gotten to you and it's really hurt your feelings. And be willing to discuss that and be honest about that. Give and take. It is not always 50-50. Sometimes we give more and sometimes we take more. It is also not as when she was a teenager, my daughter said, my husband and I were talking about marriages and we were talking to someone else. And it was like, yeah, marriage is give and take. And she goes, yeah, daddy gives money and me and mama take it. That is not what I'm talking about whenever I say that. Marriage is a give and take. And there are some days that I can give Ken a whole lot more. And there are some days that I can't. There are some days I have to take more from him. And we just need to be aware of that. Put your phone down, computer, electronics, and be fully present in the moment with your loved one. Be fully present. This applies to every relationship, but especially a marriage relationship. And my thing is that whatever's on the other side of that, phone, computer, electronic, whatever you're doing, I hope it's more important than the person that's sitting beside you. Because if you're spending more time on that than you're spending with your spouse, then there is an issue and that needs to be addressed. And I know not everyone is of the same opinion that I am of that, and that's fine. We're all privileged to those opinions, and we all have them. But I do know that it's very important that you put that phone away, because I have some very close friends that marriages have been destroyed because of a cell phone. Be encouraging. Encourage one another. My husband is my biggest fan, and I'm his biggest fan. When it comes to him at the dental practice, I'm going to tell you he is the best dentist. And I'm going to tell you that. And I'm going to encourage him that, you're very good at this. When he's teaching life group, I'm going to encourage him. When I'm doing my podcast or I'm doing YouTube or something that I'm doing to do with life coaching, going and speaking, he is my biggest fan. He encourages me totally. He is my support system. He is my cheerleader. Help each other and don't take one another for granted. And when I say that, it can actually be two different things. So, when you're needing help around the house, help out. I don't care if it's the husband or the wife, help out. If there's something that goes on outside, help out. And don't do it begrudgingly. Go and help and be done and be happy about it and go on. There are times that we all need help in life, and help your spouse out and not taking the other for granted. There may be a time when they're not there, and you're going to wish that you had gone and done something and helped them, and not complained about it. So don't take them for granted. Go and help them. Be best friends. I already mentioned that, but it's so important that you are best friends and that you truly adore each other and that there's no secrets between you. Have fun. Have a good time. Laugh, cut up, joke. Not every day are we all in the best mood to have fun, but at least take a few minutes and just enjoy each other for just a few minutes and laugh and cut up. Dance. Ken and I dance. We're known to be dancing around. We don't care who's around. We'll dance anywhere and we love it. And we were one night dancing in the kitchen and all of our kids were over and they weren't paying attention to us except our middle granddaughter. And she was like, guys, I want you to look over here at this beautiful marriage. And all we were doing was just kind of whispering to each other and dancing. But it was a beautiful moment. So dance around the kitchen. Laugh. We laugh and we cut up and we act silly. And it's okay. Sometimes we still act like we are 19 and 22. Compliment each other. I'll tell my husband that he's handsome or that he looks nice. He tells me that I'm beautiful and that I look nice. And so, compliment each other because we all need those words of encouragement. We all need those compliments to hear that, we're doing good. We need to hear that you're doing good. And that your spouse needs to hear that from you, not from other people. Don't be selfish. Don't be self-centered. If you're going to go get an ice cream, don't just get one for yourself and not even ask your spouse. If you're going to go grab dinner, don't go grab dinner and not ask your spouse. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish with your time. There's so many things that we are so selfish with, but being selfish doesn't work in a relationship at all, especially a marriage. Be playful. And when I say be playful, I don't mean that in any type of sexual way. I mean be playful as in, throw things at each other, wrestle, tickle each other, grab them and spin them around the room, or, jump on his back. Let him know before you're going to jump on his back, but jump on his back. Just have fun and be playful with one another. And the next one is have sex, and a lot of it. I actually asked someone, a lot of someone's one time, like, what's kept you together? And every couple, and it was 10, it was sex. And they have sex often, and they enjoy sex. Have it often, and learn to enjoy it. And keep it spicy. Keep your sex life spicy. Have fun with it. 15-second kiss. And Ken and I kiss for 15 seconds in the mornings. And that is so that it gives each other time. Nothing else is on our mind. It doesn't lead into something else because typically we're going to work. But those 15-second kisses in the morning and those 15-second kisses at night, it helps you to breathe, because before you know it, you're breathing simultaneously and your breath is in rhythm with one another. And it's a beautiful thing. And so try 15-second kisses. In our marriage retreat, they all laughed at us whenever we said, to kiss for 15 seconds. And they're like, we don't even have 15 seconds a day. I guarantee you have 15 seconds a day that you can kiss one another, and you can just hold each other really close and tight for that 15 seconds. Hold hands in public and in private. When we're going down the road, we hold hands. When we're in public and we're walking, we hold hands. Very rarely do you see us that we aren't holding hands when we're out in public. And last is don't fear respective and decent public affection. I don't mind being affectionate in public. Sometimes our kids will laugh at us, but it's okay, because we've actually had other people stop us and say, hey, are y'all dating? I saw y'all like making eyes at each other, and then grab each other and hug each other and kiss. And I'm like, no, we've been married for a very long time. Well, is this your first marriage? Yeah, this is my first marriage. We're still in love after all these years. And people are like, I wish we would see people more like this. And I don't fear that public affection. And, a touch on the back when we're sitting at a restaurant eating dinner, or, making out at a red light, or sitting close to each other and just staring into each other's eyes. Don't fear those things. Those are really good times. So I know this is our list. These are the things that have helped us for 31 years. And some of it's repetitive, some of it's crazy, and it doesn't apply to everybody. But if I can tell you anything at all, I will tell you, keep Christ center of your marriage. Love your spouse second. Love yourself. And have a good time in life. Enjoy spending time with one another. Do things that are fun together. Sometimes we have to do things with our spouse that we don't enjoy, and they do things that they don't enjoy. But that's part of not being selfish, and that's part of just compromising in a marriage. So I hope that today has been helpful to you. And, if y'all ever have any questions about your marriage, feel free to reach out to us. One of our favorite things is to see marriages thrive, not just to survive. And it is work, but it is possible. I promise you it is possible. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Get Your Rear in Gear with Lori, where we've talked about 31 different things that Ken and I have found to be very beneficial and to help us make it for 31 years. So until next time, y'all keep deciding, make choices. Remember the day that you decide and stick with it. Keep moving forward into the person that you want to become.